Welcome to Quiet Night Chronicles. Tonight, we drift back through time to the misty fjords of Scandinavia, where the gentle sound of adze on oak echoed across quiet workshops. Here, master shipbuilders practiced an ancient art that would carry their people safely across the world's most challenging waters. This is the story of Norse Longship Joinery, a craft built on patience, ingenuity, and a profound understanding of how wood and water work together. Picture a peaceful morning in a Norse shipyard, perhaps 1,000 years ago. The air carries the sweet scent of fresh wood shavings and the distant call of seabirds. Here, craftsmen are beginning what will become one of history's most remarkable vessels, using techniques passed down through generations like treasured family secrets. The foundation of every longship began with a technique called clinker-built construction. Imagine overlapping wooden planks, each one carefully shaped and positioned like scales on a great sea creature. This wasn't merely practical, it was almost poetic in its logic. Where other shipbuilding traditions fought against the sea's power, Norse builders created vessels that would dance with the waves. Each overlapping plank, known as a strake, was fastened to its neighbor with iron rivets. Picture the methodical rhythm of this work. The shipbuilder would carefully drill holes through the overlapping wood, insert hand-forged iron rivets, then secure them with washers on the inside. It was meditative work, requiring absolute precision, for each rivet would hold the ship together through countless ocean swells. A typical longship required between 11 and 16 of these overlapping strakes per side. Imagine the gentle curve they created, stepping down like a wooden staircase toward the waterline. This distinctive appearance wasn't just beautiful, it was brilliant engineering that would prove its worth in the world's roughest seas. The genius of this construction lay not in rigidity, but in flexibility. Unlike vessels built with edge-to-edge planking, these overlapping strakes allowed the entire hull to bend and twist with ocean waves. Picture a longship riding through a storm, its hull flexing several inches as massive swells pass beneath it. Where a rigid ship might crack and founder, the Norse vessel would bend like a living thing, then spring back to its original shape. This flexibility began with the careful selection of materials. Norse shipbuilders preferred oak trees that had grown slowly in northern climates. Picture ancient forests where trees struggled against short summers and long winters, their growth rings tight and dense from the effort. These hardy trees produced wood of exceptional strength and resilience, perfect for withstanding the stresses of ocean travel. The master builder would walk through forests, like a physician examining patients, reading the stories written in bark and branch. A tree that had grown straight and tall, without major branches low on its trunk, might provide the perfect plank. One with a natural curve could become part of the ship's graceful sweeping lines. The selection process was itself an art, requiring years of experience to master. Once suitable trees were chosen, the work of shaping began. Picture the rhythmic sound of axes biting into oak, the whisper of adzes paring away thin shavings, the gentle scrape of draw knives following the wood's natural grain. These weren't power tools forcing wood into submission, but hand tools that worked with the material, coaxing it into the desired shapes through patient, skillful hands. The keel formed the backbone of every longship. Ideally carved from a single massive oak timber, it could stretch 70 to 80 feet for the largest vessels. Imagine the tree that could provide such a beam, perhaps centuries old, standing like a silent giant in some northern forest. The keel had to be perfectly straight and incredibly strong, for it would bear the stresses of the entire ship's weight and the forces of wind and wave. Connecting the planks required thousands of iron rivets. Archaeological analysis of the famous Gokstad ship revealed approximately 3,000 of these small but crucial fasteners holding the vessel together. Picture the blacksmith's forge glowing in the evening light as he shaped each rivet by hand, understanding that the ship's very survival might depend on his careful work. The gaps between planks needed to be sealed against the sea's constant attempts at entry. Norse builders developed an ingenious solution using materials readily available in their northern world. They would twist together animal hair, often from cattle or sheep, with sticky pine tar to create a flexible, waterproof barrier. This mixture, known as oakum, could be pressed into the gaps where it would swell when wet, creating an even tighter seal. Picture the careful preparation of this waterproofing material. Animal hair would be cleaned and combed, then mixed with tar that had been heated until it reached just the right consistency. Too hot, and it would become brittle when cool. Too cool, and it wouldn't penetrate properly into the hair fibers. This was another skill that required experience and intuition, reading the materials by touch and sight. The construction process typically stretched across 6 to 12 months, depending on the ship's size and the number of craftsmen available. But this wasn't hurried work. Picture long winter evenings when progress slowed, and builders would use the time to prepare materials for spring construction. Wood would season, iron would be stockpiled, and apprentices would practice their skills on smaller projects. Training new shipbuilders was a process measured in years rather than months. A young apprentice might begin by learning to sharpen and care for tools, gradually advancing to shaping simple pieces, then more complex components. Picture the patient relationship between master and student. Knowledge passing from experienced hands to eager ones through demonstration and practice rather than written instruction. Different regions of Scandinavia developed their own variations in longship construction. Norwegian builders, with access to particularly fine oak forests, might create vessels with slightly different proportions than their Danish or Swedish counterparts. Swedish builders, influenced by Baltic conditions, might adjust their techniques for different sailing conditions. These weren't major differences, but subtle refinements reflecting local materials and conditions. Archaeological discoveries have given us remarkable insights into these ancient techniques. The Gokstad ship, discovered in a burial mound in Norway, survived nearly complete after more than 1,000 years. Picture archaeologists carefully exposing this ancient vessel, finding construction details preserved as clearly as if the builders had finished their work yesterday. Other finds, like the ships discovered at Roskilde Fjord in Denmark, show how these construction techniques evolved over time. Some vessels were built for warfare, others for cargo, still others for the deepest ocean voyages. Each required slightly different approaches, but all shared the fundamental clinker-built construction that made Norse ships so successful. The preservation of these ancient vessels required specific conditions. Picture ships intentionally sunk in harbors as blockades, their wood gradually buried in oxygen-free mud that prevented decay. Or royal burial ships sealed in clay and peat that created a time capsule, preserving not just the vessel, but artifacts that tell us about the people who built and sailed them. Modern reconstructions of Norse longships have confirmed the brilliance of these ancient techniques. Contemporary builders, following archaeological evidence and traditional methods, have created vessels that sail with the same grace and seaworthiness as their ancient counterparts. Picture these modern reconstructions cutting through ocean swells, their clinker-built hulls flexing and responding to the sea, just as they did 1,000 years ago. The tools used in longship construction were remarkably sophisticated, despite their apparent simplicity. A master shipbuilder's toolkit might include dozens of specialized axes, adzes, and draw knives, each designed for specific tasks. Picture the care with which these tools were maintained, their edges kept razor-sharp through constant attention, their handles worn smooth by countless hours of use. Weatherproofing wasn't limited to the hull seams. Norse builders also waterproofed their vessels, using various combinations of tar, tallow, and other materials. The sail, when not in use, would be treated with fat to shed water. Even the rope rigging received attention, with cordage twisted from materials that would resist the salt spray and constant moisture of ocean voyaging. As we near the end of our journey through Norse shipbuilding techniques, picture one final scene. A completed longship rests at the water's edge, its graceful lines reflected in still water. Every plank has been carefully shaped and fitted, every rivet precisely placed, every seam sealed against the sea. This vessel represents not just transportation, but the accumulated wisdom of generations of craftsmen who understood that working with natural materials required patience, skill, and respect. These ancient builders created something truly remarkable. Their longships weren't just boats, they were masterpieces of engineering that solved the challenge of ocean travel through flexibility rather than brute strength. They understood that the sea was a partner to dance with, not an enemy to defeat. Their techniques, refined over centuries, produced vessels capable of crossing the Atlantic Ocean or navigating shallow rivers with equal grace. The peaceful workshops where these ships took shape were centers of learning, where knowledge flowed from master to apprentice, like water finding its natural course. Here, in the gentle rhythm of tool against wood, ancient craftsmen created vessels that would carry their people to new worlds while remaining flexible enough to return them safely home. If you found this journey through Norse craftsmanship peaceful, consider subscribing to Quiet Night Chronicles for more restful explorations of history's gentle arts. Until next time, may your dreams be filled with the whisper of waves against wooden hulls and the satisfaction of work done with patient hands.